Join us today as we talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. We've both seen the movie. We've got stuff to say.
Yeah, I can't believe you made us wait this long to talk about it, Dad.
I'm cheap.
Hi, and welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son sit down and today talk about some comic book. Wow, comic
Maybe
book
we won't be
nerdy
talking.
stuff. I read, I don't talk. My name's Zach. I'm the son of that equation.
And he's a content creator, but he doesn't talk.
No.
And I'm Jim. I'm the father of this show. And it's always great to have my son with me as we get to talk about whatever nerdy stuff we feel like. Today, we are talking about the movie Deadpool and Wolverine, which Zach saw in theaters.
Yes.
And I waited till it was available on DisneyPlus that I already pay for. And it just came out this past week, and I watched it the very first day. And then I watched it a second time because your mother wanted to watch it too, which I was almost a little proud of. Oh, she wants to watch it. But here's how she said, well, I want to watch it too. You made me watch the first two Deadpool movies. I think it's fair to say, though, she enjoyed this one much more than the previous two.
I want to throw Rachel some credit here because she absolutely deserves it. Not only did we go watch it, and I came to her and I was like, hey, would you be willing to go see this with me? I know comic book movies aren't always your thing. And she was like, no, I like Deadpool. So we watched the first two before we went and saw it in theaters. And even past that, she's on her suggestion and wanting to do, we've been going back and watching through all the X-Men movies because she wanted to, and she's doing this. So I'm just giving her credit. She's nerdy too. She just missed some of these when she was younger.
Yeah. Deadpool and Wolverine, it's not going to win an Academy Award, but it's so in line with who Deadpool is in the comics. Because it's just pandering to the fans in so many delightful ways. It's brilliant. I do believe it is better than the first two Deadpool movies in that it gives us what we want. That's it.
Now,
and it does it at high quality.
Throw out there has been some criticism here and there of people who are sick and tired of some of the things the MCU has done, and then Deadpool kind of jumping in to claim we acknowledge that this is bad and sick and tired and we've done this, and it being too pandery or too much. And I'm sitting here going, I'm not looking for this to be a revolutionary new movie. I'm looking for it to be the Deadpool vibe, which is exactly the time and place to put that pandering, to make fun of itself, even if it is over the top. It's kind of the point.
There were so many moments in this movie where it was specifically referencing criticisms from general people about the MCU, about stuff, and doing it in a way that's just hilarious to acknowledge. I am thinking of the scene where it's early on that he's brought the worst ever Wolverine into things, and they're at the TVA, and he's like, hey, yeah, welcome to the MCU. You're coming in at a low point. Which is, hilarious because the MCU has been at a low point lately and everybody knows it. So acknowledging things. What I felt coming through the screen more than anything else on this movie was this was a movie made by true Marvel fans. Ryan Reynolds in particular. He just loves his character and he loves everything to do with the Marvel universe. And he's making this for fans like him. I'm one of them. So I ate everything up.
I'm also an NSYNC fan, so I ate that part up too.
That was so good. Yep. One of the really standout things, of course, in this movie is that we get to see Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman playing together in their roles, these iconic roles. Hugh Jackman, has made Wolverine to be something more than Wolverine ever was in the comics. And they reference that when Ryan Reynolds is going to look for other Wolverines, okay? And we get to see Patch. We get to see Ultimate Wolverine, the guy with no hand. We get to see accurate height Wolverine. And that's where I laughed so hard because I'm like, yes, we've changed what Wolverine is like because Hugh Jackman is a big dude. But he personified Wolverine, but he's way too tall to play this character, and we don't care anymore. So that was funny. When, oh, look, oh, the itty bitty Wolverine. I was just laughing. And there's so many things like that packed through this movie that if you're a fan of Marvel Comics, if you're a fan of the X-Men, if you enjoy Deadpool, and you've watched and read a lot of this stuff, oh, it was so many references that you were just cracking up over. But the crux of it, the best part of it, is just getting these two actors together. And they played off each other so brilliantly.
And part of that is, for years, I've loved the relationship that they show that is sometimes antagonistic, but very tongue-in-cheek. And they have history, the two of them, very publicly, a public beef that I find very entertaining. And getting to see them actually, again, work side by side and really highlight that was very fun.
If we just started talking about moments that we really enjoyed, we'd go on for a long
This episode would be too long.
time. But I want to raise up a significant one that was just so well done. Their fight in the Hyundai. Okay. And and watching your mom's reaction too. Okay. Bash Hugh Jackman's head into the radio set, and The Greatest Showman music starts playing. Bash him again. It's a different song than The Greatest Showman. And then later on, when he threatens Cassandra, hey, you're going to do what we need, or I'm going to make him sing The Music Man without warming up, which he did on Broadway brilliantly, all these things just, so good. But the fight sequence where they are really going off at each other, and there's no holds barred. They're all the effects they want to do this kind of fight scene. And yet it's intermittently stuck in with witty comments again. And they're both in character, but they're cracking us up. That in a nutshell is this whole movie. So that is definitely one of the things that makes this movie shine the most. You got Ryan Reynolds and his irreverent Deadpool character contrasted with Hugh Jackman's gruff Wolverine, I don't give me any of your crap kind of stuff, and them bouncing back and forth off each other. And then as the plot goes along to get to the very end where they've made it through everything, and hey, you want some shawarma? Yeah, I can eat. And off they walk. It's just beautiful. Did you enjoy that aspect of it too? You're kind of nodding along.
I did. I also enjoyed a lot of standout performances from actors that we'd seen throughout the MCU or non-MCU Marvel things. And that one in particular, getting brought in and getting to revive these roles one more time, or do it for the first time when they've been trying to do it for 20 years. I'm looking at you, Channing Tatum.
This is something, right? This is something I explained to your mother before the movie, because she needed some context. If she didn't know this, she wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. And that's that Disney/Marvel has bought Fox Studios now. So they could bring all of this in, which was the Fantastic Four, which was all the X-Men films. So to know that going in, because that is a huge part of this movie. And they worked it in a really good way. But so then we get these cameos. Jennifer Garner as Elektra. I watched that movie back in the day.
It wasn't good.
But she was good, but the movie wasn't good. And Wesley Snipes as Blade, and we're seeing that. And when Ryan Reynolds, Blade says, I hate this guy. And Ryan Reynolds responds, yeah, you always did. Yeah, because you were in Blade Trinity and they didn't get along. All those jokes. For fans of these movies who have watched all of them and dug it, this was just, again, you couldn't go 30 seconds without having something to laugh about. And it just, to come up with all of those, that's incredible. Yeah, that was fun.
It stands out to me more than any of the other performances right now in my head, just because Rachel and I just watched X-Men Origins Wolverine last night. So I have the other portrayal of Gambit that we've seen in my head. And man, Channing Tatum's is just so much better.
And again, all the humor with, who is your dialect coach? I can't understand a thing you're saying.
But that's
that
the
is
point.
That is how he talks. Channing Tatum did a nice job there. Another spot, another reference with your mom cracked out loud was the smoke creature. I forget the name, Ethniel or something. Anyways, and Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, is like, wait, from Loki season 1, episode 5? She just starts laughing because the references are so blatant. The fourth wall is so shattered in this movie. And then when you have Nice Pool turn and do a take as well, and Deadpool's like, what are you doing? You can't do that.
But all the Deadpools can.
And Dogpool. Oh, they really nailed their portrayal of Dogpool. Because I mean, do you know that from the comics? All these different Deadpool
I know some
varieties.
of them. I don't necessarily know every single one.
Because I was seeing all of these there, and almost all of them I do remember from the comics
in some form.
And Dogpool was just spot on. The ugliest dog you could possibly think of, with a tongue that's always out there. Yes, that's Dogpool. Ladypool was great. Kidpool, I had to look up an IMDb, and I'm like, Kidpool, that's their kid.
Oh yeah, that one was that one. Sorry, my brain also has Walker Scobell still in there, because just every time I love seeing him interact in a Deadpool space at this point, after having seen them work on the Atom project together.
Okay. But no, that was their daughter.
Yeah.
Playing it, and that was great.
It was a family film,
Yeah, in some interesting ways. But they also threw in the Deadpools. I was looking it up again on IMDb, and they had some other voices in there too. I mean, Matthew McConaughey is voicing the cowboy Deadpool,
of course,
and zombie Deadpool. I had to explain Marvel Zombies to your mom because she did what? Yeah, that's a thing. So many things. So as they're having that fight against all the Deadpools, she's like, don't they all regenerate? And I just kept my lip shut till it gets to that moment, and they're done, and they all start getting up. It's like, yeah. She knows stuff. Yeah, that was so fun.
So what else do we need to talk about?
Okay, the multiverse is on display here too, and in two ways in this movie. One, that we have all these alternate realities, because that's where he's going for all these Wolverines. I enjoyed seeing Patch. I enjoyed seeing the Ultimate Wolverine, the varieties that were there. But at the same time, it sounded like they were also saying, the multiverse, we're kind of done with the multiverse. Is this a turn that they're gonna, they've been leaning into the multiverse with Doctor Strange, we're going that way, but it hasn't been playing real well. Are they saying, even through the Deadpool movie, we're kind of gonna back away from leaning into that a little bit?
Well, I think that, plus the complications with certain actors that have led to them having to change their plans for phases in totality, and their villains,
Kang the Conqueror,
they've already kind of said, hey, we're going to be wrapping up this multiverse stuff and moving into other storylines again. So we still have to get through a couple things, get to that point, give it a nice conclusion. But yeah, we are going that direction.
Chris Evans, when he shows up, your mother's like, isn't that Captain America? And I'm just, yeah, let that play out. And then when he goes off, I had to stop the film. I said, remember the original Fantastic Four? Oh,
yep.
That was brilliant. Oh my goodness. And then of course the credit scene.
Chris Evans had fun getting to actually say all that.
Deadpool was, hey, I'm tired of taking it for this. Roll the credit. Yeah, that was great. He shows he actually did it. That was nice. I felt very good with myself, proud of myself. The first moment that Cassandra is referenced, I went, oh, I know what they did. And then it brought it, but I've read all of the X-Men comics up to about 5 years ago. Like, I'd read everything from the 60s forward, and then now they've kept doing X-Men, and I haven't gone back and read the newest stuff. But the whole Cassandra Nova line and that whole thing between her and Charles Xavier, yeah, I read all that in the comics. So as soon as they said that, I went, oh, they brought her into this.
And that was a little bit more of an obscure pull for comics and things, which they have done. But sometimes that hasn't been working out lately. this one worked, and largely because of her performance. She did a very good job.
And the hand in the head, it's like that's straight from the comics. That is what she needs to do. And it's like, oh, yeah.
It's icky.
So good. But then the way they incorporated the X-Men universe into this movie, so nice. All these characters, especially the bad guys, Sabretooth, Toad, Pyro, and the Blob. I don't think that was the actual actor for the Blob. The others were actual actors from the movies, and so good. And the fight, that fight when they go back to Cassandra Nova's place, so much good about that fight. So much. They all get their slow motion moment.
A lot of good little moments.
Yeah. So we've already talked about the cameos. This movie had so many cameos. And there's more. I mean, we could talk a long time just on high profile cameos. We've talked about the biggest ones already. I guess the only other big one we haven't referenced is an actress not as many people know by name, but Daphne Keane.
I'm very excited about Daphne Keane.
Now
where they leave it off,
MCU.
that it's like, no, she can actually like go forward with MCU projects in world proper.
Yeah. The fourth wall breaking, we've talked about that. That was done very well. Bringing in the TVA was a good call for this movie. That was a nice element. They've really picked and chose from all the things that's been put out in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But there were a number of other just references that weren't from Marvel.
Okay.
They're scattered throughout the movie. Cultural things, like you mentioned, NSYNC already. And that. I mean, that's a reference that just...
And to be fair, because I had seen it recently, it goes further back. I'm pretty sure they like tease a little bit, go that direction in Deadpool 2, and then they went, no, let's full commit. Let's do it.
Yeah. And in that, I really felt that's where they were trying to appeal not just to people like me, but to the younger crowd, the millennials, the Gen Xers. They're trying to reach into some of these more things that everybody's familiar with that I think are funny too, but they were really going for the younger demographic with some of those, and I think that was brilliant too. They did a really nice job. I've enjoyed all three of the Deadpool movies, but this one, way better than the other two. Now, this one's worthless without the other two. You got to have the first two.
And this one's especially worthless without decades of other movies.
Well, yeah. But I seriously feel like Ryan Reynolds was in the writing room saying, I want to do this joke, and I want to do this joke, and I want to do this joke. And they're like, yes, sir, whatever you like, and he just went for it. And everything was the Mad Max jokes. I mean, everything they could think of. And it's all in there. And it's all done really well. And the special effects crew, dang, that should get an Academy Award nod. There's so much that's done so seamlessly. When you just think of the battle scenes between Deadpool and Wolverine, nothing looked fake. You know, it's not all fake, normal speed. Nothing looked fake. And it's not like, okay, there's a couple of quick, a decapitation and a stab and, no, there is so much. This movie made a mad amount of money. Now, I have not looked at the actual statistics. I just know it was very popular. I am sure it has made a lot of money. I'm sure it spent a lot of money to do that, yet I have no doubts this was a profitable movie. So the final thing I go to is, will there be a Deadpool 4? And will they indeed use Hugh Jackman till he's 90?
So supposedly, the first thing I'm finding when I look up profit, I had to know, was that it brought in about $1.3 billion.
Think about that. Global it's not been out that long. It's been out, what, 3 months? 4 months?
It's going to be like mostly out of various... It's not going to be in theaters and things anymore. No. So that's about what it made, but that's a good chunk of money.
That is a huge... There are movies that never touch $1 billion, and it's over $1 billion.
It is over... It did crack the $1 billion, it looks like. My potentially hot take is that there shouldn't be a Deadpool 4. Really? I think this is something that we very much enjoyed. We gave it multiple different things. It's not exactly a 3-movie trilogy arc, but it is a trilogy kind of thing. It definitely gave some life into something again. And while you could continue to make enjoyable films, things people are going to enjoy, it would also be very, very easy to keep beating this dead horse because it's going to keep giving you money.
So it might be better if just Deadpool isn't incorporated into the other storylines.
If it gets chosen to be
come
used in
on.
other places,
He's
sure.
gonna die in Thor's hands. We know this. That's planned now. Come on, that's got to be in a later movie, right? Right?
Nah.
Oh, come on.
No.
It was such a thing. Now, do you think that's Ryan Reynolds saying, come on, I'm going to push myself into the greater story? No, because Chris Hemsworth is there. That's a cameo. So there's something.
No, I think there's room for Deadpool to pop up here and there and other things, but I think also in many, many ways, this movie will continue to be even better if it does not have sequels.
That's fair. But Hugh Jackman, he came back. This was known early on. He came back to do Wolverine as a favor for Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
We're friends. Sure. I'm sure he was paid a crazy amount of money to do this.
Absolutely. Especially because he's at an age where getting into a certain level of fitness is not healthy.
Which was, again, a hilarious thing. People who were paying attention knew part of why he didn't want to do Wolverine anymore is it's too hard to get into that level of fitness. He didn't want to have to. So he was done. So they have him wear the costume the whole movie because obviously it's molded. It makes him look that way. And then right near the end, they're doing that scene and Deadpool looks over. He's like, ooh, because he's still ripped. Yeah, and they made a couple references.
And to a certain extent, and this is something that I have a problem with the superhero movie genre in general. It's not a very uncommon complaint. It's out there, but that standards have changed and become even more unrealistic, attainable through certain things, but is not what should really be modeled after. And if you compare Wolverine in the original X-Men and Wolverine here in Deadpool and Wolverine, he is significantly more vascular and ripped and all these different things because the standard has changed.
Yeah. You know Hugh Jackman is your mother's age?
Mm-hmm.
This is not easy for a person this age to get into that shape.
No.
That was impressive. So he, when he said, so I'll see you around, probably not. And yet, then he goes home with him. They left it open.
It's open that he could still, I think there's a chance we still see little cameos, not that we see actual full performance. And that's, again, one of the reasons I love that X-23, Daphne Keane moving along with as well, because it gives a vibe of Wolverine stuff that we want, but from someone a little younger, a little different, while still honoring Hugh Jackman's torch.
I'm with you that I think this should be the last Deadpool movie. This is a nice wrap up to the arc, but we have to have more Deadpool in the MCU now. He's an introduced character and he's too much of a powerhouse. You got to find ways to work him into other stuff. When he comes into stuff, he's going to steal scenes because that's what Deadpool does. So you have to be very careful about where you use him, how you use him, but they got to use him.
I think there's room for, in comics, in my opinion, Deadpool always works best by either stealing everything's attention or slightly buddy cop. You get it as a dynamic duo of some sorts. And so like having a run with a Deadpool and Spider-Man, totally down for that. That's an interesting dynamic. But having a Deadpool interacting with a large cast of characters, that may not be so successful.
So we talked before we got on here. This is the last thing I want to talk about. That there were references in this that I don't think you would have got.
Sure.
You're not old enough. You don't have enough of the way back stuff. Did you catch the Van Wilder reference?
In my defense of anything here right now, I saw this 3 months ago. So I don't know half of what you're talking about in general, let alone the reference. You play the clip for me, maybe.
Are you familiar with the movie Van Wilder?
Familiar? Sure. No.
Yeah. It was a quick little comment. Deadpool makes some, and he says it like some Dan Milder thing. He totally didn't use the actual word because that would have been another IP that we don't want to touch.
For sure. They didn't own that
for. But
Disney owns most, but not
it was a reference he made at Nice Pool. And he was totally, that's the face, that's the look. It's from the movie Van Wilder. And I was like, ah! And I was like, Zach won't know that.
Fair enough. Now, I think that you made a good point earlier. This movie does have references for various demographics.
Yeah.
So there are plenty of things that are probably to a Gen Z audience even that you missed as well.
Probably.
And it's, again, part of the reasons of this movie's success. It did not singularly appeal to one demographic.
It's like when you watch VeggieTales. You got some of the humor, and I got the higher stuff. But this is not at all like VeggieTales.
This is nothing like VeggieTales. That's a very weird thing to compare. Why are you comparing?
Because somebody watching this is going to go, I loved VeggieTales.
Don't compare tomatoes and cucumbers. Come on.
Oh, can we throw in asparagus, though? Why not? All right. Any last words you want to say about Deadpool and Wolverine?
I enjoyed it, and if you haven't watched it, you probably should.
Go see it. But you need to see the first Deadpools. Those first two movies. I mean, you could watch this without those.
It won't kill you if you don't.
But it's a little better if you have the context. But yeah, really, it does kind of stand on its own.
If this was, however, the first comic book movie you've ever watched, you've made a mistake.
Lost. Wow. Yeah. All right. So let us know your thoughts. Did you enjoy Deadpool and Wolverine? Is the things we've said, this is the last movie they should make, blah, blah, blah. What do you think? Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? We always love to see comments. So let us know your thoughts. Comment box. While you're at the comment box, just below that is the show notes. Other ways that you can interact with Zach and I. So we hope you'll take a look at those. Send us an email. Find us on X. Look at Discord. There's an invitation. You've never tried Discord? It's a free app. You can come hang with us and well over 100 other people who like this kind of nerdy stuff too. And then just chit chat. We have a lot of people there who just troll. Like Zach. Okay.
No,
and that's fine.
I occasionally put something out there, but I mostly like to see other people interacting.
Absolutely. So that's what we have. Thanks for being with us today. We appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed it. Come back for more. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.